Ma Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesa Shunyavadi Pasyatya Desatarine. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasari Gaur Bhakta-vrinda. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasari Gaur Bhakta-vrinda. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasari Gaur Bhakta-vrinda. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasari Gaur Bhakta-vrinda. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare-rama Hare-rama Rama-rama Hare-hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare-rama, Hare-rama, Rama-rama, Hare-hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare-rama, Hare-rama, Rama-rama, Hare-hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare-rama, Hare-rama, Rama-rama, Hare-hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare-rama, Hare-rama, Rama-rama, Hare-hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare-rama, Hare-rama, Rama-rama, Hare-hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare-rama, Hare-rama, Rama-rama, Hare-hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare-rama, Hare-rama, Rama-rama, Hare-hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare-rama, Hare-rama, Rama-rama, Hare-hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Prabhadakacharya Asadhara Satushi Shiman His Divine Grace Khalisi Bhaktivedanta Swami Raj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Gaur Premanande Hariva Slava Zarani Bhakta Slava Shri Guru Shri Grangi. Whose Bhagavad Gita is this?
Sorry?
Whose Bhagavad Gita is this?
The old one who was trying to swim.
What's that?
The old one who was trying to swim.
What does that mean?
Got into some water.
There was water on that shelf and someone spilled it,
So where's the Bhagavad Gita? It's drowned?
drying.
It's drying, okay.
Drying coffee.
It didn't drown.
That's a concern.
Well, this Bhagavad Gita is well read.
Good sign.
It's falling apart too. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chakshur Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Bandeham Shigaro Shiyuta Parakamalam Shigaram Vaishnavam Scha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raganatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Vrajana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shiva Sakans Vitamscha Hey Krishna Karna Sindhu Dinabando Jagapate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namosute Tapta Kanchana Gorangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Prishuvana Sutta Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakapa Durvyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patiranam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Pranitananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Could someone fix this cover? Can you? People come, they should see we value the Bhagavad Gita. That's like some old shabby book from 5,000 years ago. So we're reading from the Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter 17, the Visions of Faith, text number 8. Ayu sattva balarogya sukha priti vivardhana Rasya snigdha stiriridya. Ahara satika priya. Ayu sattva bala rogya. Sukha priti vivardhana. Rasa snigdha stira ridya. Ahara satika priya. Ayu sattva bala rogya. Sukha priti vivardhana. Sukha priti vivardhana. Ahara satika priya. Ladies. Ayu sattva bala rogya. Sukha priti vivardhana. Rasa snigdha stiraridya. Ahara sattvika priya. Translation: Foods dear to those in the mode of goodness increase the duration of life, purify one's existence, and give strength, health, happiness, and satisfaction. Such foods are juicy, fatty, wholesome, and pleasing to the heart. Text number 9. Kadvamla lavana yushna tiksha ruksha vidahina ahara rajasa shesta dukkha shoka maya prada. Foods that are too bitter, too sour, salty, hot, pungent, dry and burning are dear to those in the mode of passion. Such foods cause distress, misery, and disease. Text 10. Yatta yamam kata rasyam puti paryushitam chayat uchistapi cha medyam bhojanam tamasa priyam. Foods prepared more than 3 hours before being eaten, food that is tasteless, decomposed, and putrid, and food containing remnants and untouchable things is dear to those in the mode of darkness. Purport: the purpose of food is to increase the duration of life, purify the mind, and aid bodily strength. This is the only purpose. In the past, great authorities selected those foods that best aid health and increase life's duration, such as milk products, sugar, rice, wheat, fruits, and vegetables. These foods are very dear to those in the mode of goodness. Some other foods, such as baked corn and molasses, while not very palatable in themselves, can be made pleasant when mixed with milk or other foods. They are then in the mode of goodness. All these foods are pure by nature. They are quite distinct from untouchable things like meat and liquor. Fatty foods, as mentioned in the 8th verse, have no connection with animal fat obtained by slaughter. Animal fat is available in the form of milk, which is the most wonderful of all foods. Milk, butter, cheese, and similar products give animal fat in a form which rules out any need for the killing of innocent creatures. It is only through brute mentality that this killing goes on. The civilized method of obtaining needed fat is by milk. Slaughter is the way of subhumans. Protein is simply available through split peas, dal, whole wheat, etc. Foods in the mode of passion, which are bitter, too salty, or too hot, or overly mixed with red pepper, cause misery by reducing the mucus in the stomach, leading to disease. Foods in the mode of ignorance or darkness are essentially those that are not fresh. Any food cooked more than 3 hours before it is eaten, except prasadam, food offered to the Lord, is considered to be in the mode of darkness. Because they are decomposing, such foods give a bad odor, which often attracts people in this mode, but repulses those in the mode of goodness. Remnants of food may be eaten only when they are part of a meal that was first offered to the Supreme Lord, or first eaten by saintly persons, especially the spiritual master. Otherwise, the remnants of food are considered to be in the mode of darkness, and they increase infection or disease. Such foods, although very palatable to persons in the mode of darkness, are neither liked nor even touched by those in the mode of goodness. The best food is the remnants of what is offered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In Bhagavad Gita, the Supreme Lord says that He accepts preparations of vegetables, flour, and milk when offered with devotion. Patram pushpam palam toyam. Of course, devotion and love are the chief things which the Supreme Lord, Supreme Personality of Godhead, accepts. But it's also mentioned that the prasadam should be prepared in a particular way. Any food prepared by the injunctions of the scripture and offered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead can be taken even if prepared long, long ago, because such food is transcendental. Therefore, to make food antiseptic, edible, and palatable for all persons, one should offer food to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutaya Srimate Bhakti-vedanta Swami Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Vicharane Nirvishesha Srinivadi Paskadyade Sadarne. So as we know, Prabhupada once said that the impersonalists may speculate day and night, but we'll eat our way back to Godhead. So eating is a very important part of the Hare Krishna movement. Sometimes it was called the kitchen religion. But it's not only to eat, but it's also learn how to eat devotionally. Prabhupada sometimes would remark that the devotees eat like animals sometimes. So we have to learn how to eat, and it's called honoring prasadam, or relishing prasadam. So it means we have to chew the food and actually try to experience prasadam. Sometimes when the tongue gets a little bit lax, when it tastes prasadam, it gets a little bit comfortable, and then it starts to wag and vibrate. And after talking to our neighbors and our friends, we experience everything except for the prasadam. Therefore, sometimes it's good to be a little quiet when we're chanting, or as Vishnu Jan Maharaj once wrote to Srila Prabhupada and asked, is there that the devotees in my temple, this was Austin, Texas, in the early 70s, they don't want to do anything but eat prasadam, is that all right? So Prabhupada wrote back, he said, that's all right. But in between the bites, they should chant Hare Krishna. So, prasadam will actually, if it's honored, because the soul is conditioned by the material nature because of its desire to lord it over the material nature. Eating is the first and fundamental principle of lording it over the material nature. The idea that we're controlling some part of the material nature for our enjoyment is more or less material consciousness. So there's a very subtle difference between honoring prasadam and experiencing Krishna by eating, remembering that this prasadam this food has been offered to Krishna, and He's given us back out of His mercy to nourish the body, the mind, and the soul, and therefore we can experience Krishna by honoring the prasadam. On the other hand, if one is not eating prasadam and relishing it, then the general tendency is to eat other things. And generally what we're eating is going to reflect our lifestyle. That if our lifestyle is in the mode of ignorance, then naturally we become inclined to eat food in the mode of ignorance. We become attracted. And if our lifestyle is in the mode of passion, then naturally we become attracted to eating foods in the mode of passion. Like businessmen or who are eating on the rush, they don't take food very important, as something very important. They eat all kinds, they drink coffee, vast amounts of coffee, eat fast food. Sometimes they like spicy food because it gets them fired up. And those in the mode of ignorance, they like things that dull the mind. Prabhupada told the story of when Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada's disciples went to Burma to open a temple, then they were cooking puris in ghee. And all the neighbors were complaining about the horrible smell coming from the devotee's kitchen that was disturbing them. The smell of puris cooked in ghee. But they had a favorite preparation that you probably know about. It was called nafta. So nafta was made from all the dead animals that died in the village. And they put the dead animals in a pot and put the pot on the roof of their house. And the sun is very strong in Burma, so the sun would bake and boil the dead bodies into a liquid. And then they take the liquid and they siphon off the liquid from the dead animals, put it in a bottle, and on special festival days they pour it over their rice as a treat. And when they smelled nafta, they were in ecstasy. But being in the mode of ignorance, when they smelled ghee, they became sick. So this is the modes of material nature. So according to the mode we're in, according to the mood we're in sometimes, we become attracted to a certain type of food. In any case, if we offer our food to Krishna, which is offerable, and I don't know if chocolate's offerable, that if we offer food to Krishna, it says sometimes the devotees go to the store and they just go, Shri Vishnu, they offer the whole store. It's not exactly a very deep offering. And the people who buy the food and prepare it will probably not remember Krishna just because the devotee wants Shri Vishnu. Most of us are not so powerful. In any case, if food is prepared from vegetables which were grown for Krishna, just like Srimati Yasoda Devi, she had special cows that she gave them special grass so they could produce special milk, so she could make yogurts and milk products specially for Krishna. So it's not it's every step of the process, from the growing of the food, to the harvesting of the food, to the preparing the food, to offering the food, that this is all can be infused within the food, devotional love. And then of course, finally, it's our responsibility to eat it with devotional love. Of course, if someone is a very expert cook, a devotee, then one cannot help but remember Krishna when one eats the food. Just like Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used to comment about the qualities of the shak that he was eating. How Krishna's must have eaten the shak because it tastes like Krishna's saliva is in the food. In any case, if we grew our food devotionally, if we harvested it devotionally, if we transported it devotionally and cooked it devotionally and served it devotionally and ate it devotionally, then we'd make a lot of progress in devotional service, because one would actually feel satisfied. And if one is not satisfied spiritually and materially, then one will naturally become interested in other kinds of sense gratification. But if one is satisfied, then one's mind becomes peaceful. And of course, Prabhupada talks about how the finer brain tissues of the brain are developed so that one can think of the path of self-realization. And here it mentions the different ingredients. Generally, ayu sattva bala rogya sukha priti vivardhana rasa snigdha stira ridya ahara satika priya. That here mostly the qualities are mentioned, how they're juicy and fatty. Ayu sattva, they create health and longevity. These are foods in the mode of goodness. But katvama lavaya yushna tiksha ruksha vidayina ahara rajasheshresta dukkhaprita stiraridya. That foods in the mode of passion, especially they're hot and spicy and produce rajas. Bengal, which is noted to be quite passionate, if you go there, you find that everyone there, from their birth, they like to eat chilies. And sometimes they have some rice, and they have a pot of chilies, and every time they're just eating chilies. And then with their rice. And they're in ecstasy. You like chilies? Do you eat chilies plain? What's that? Yeah. What's that? Well, chilies in some parts of India are important because if it's very, very hot outside, which I don't think it doesn't feel like that yet in Slovenia, then the result is that your digestive power goes down, because the body, in order to compensate for the internal heat that's increasing, along with the external heat, starts to sweat and throw the heat out of the body. So in summer, generally speaking, our digestive power goes down. And so chilies or more moderate than chili would be ginger. Ginger, cinnamon, cloves. These are all have some element of fire in them, and because they have an element of fire, they also help digestion. Their prabhav is considered to be positive. When you eat these foods, they increase the digestive power. On the other hand, ice cream, although it's very nice in the summer, it doesn't exactly increase your digestive power when you eat it. Maybe for some special devotees it does, but generally speaking it doesn't. So ice cream is probably better to take it by itself and not an overwhelming, unless you're really young and you have a furnace for a stomach, then it's probably best to take it in moderation and by itself. Otherwise, if you have a big meal and then at the end you take ice cream, then hopefully the bed is quite close by so that you can take rest as soon as possible. On the other hand, taking too many chilies or too many things that are hot will also, after some time, produce sweating, which will also lower the bodily temperature. So everything should be taken in moderation, appropriately, according to the time, the place, the audience, the season, and the person who's eating. Intelligently. So, in India, when people are brought up in their culture, that automatically they learn from their grandmother and from everyone, at least previously, cooking was considered an important part of the culture. Isn't that right? Every lady learned from her mother how to cook. And they knew how to cook in different circumstances. Generally, the grandmothers, they knew if you got sick exactly how to prepare different preparations to cure the disease. When Srila Prabhupada got dysentery one time, he asked the devotees to prepare eggplant and hot puris. So generally speaking, most of us would not consider it when you had diarrhea or dysentery that you're going to eat hot puris and eggplant. Prepare it in a certain way. But it actually cures, because there's easier ways. Usually we take rice, with cooked rice with unripe bananas, because that's astringent. And because it's astringent, it stops the diarrhea or the dysentery. But anyhow, Prabhupada did that and he got cured. So they knew all the different preparations of how to mix spices in order to get different effects and different medicines like that. Did your parents know about that? No, I bet how to cook in order to become cured from different diseases. Yeah, so that was considered valuable information. It saved you thousands of dollars or euros in doctor bills. Now you go to the doctor, he takes your blood, can't figure out what's wrong with you, gives you some pills, sends you home, and you take the pills, and you're in bed for 3 days or a week or whatever it is. And in the end you have to go back to take more pills for the reactions that the pills he gave you created. They've gone so far, like when people are getting reactions for the vaccines, like going blind or getting these nervous diseases, getting arrhythmias and myocarditis. They went to the doctors and they told them we have these problems. And the doctors are telling them, that's very good. It means that the vaccine's working. I've gone blind. Oh, that's good. Means that vaccine is very effective. I'm not exaggerating either. So we should understand that what we eat, we should see the effect. If after we eat, then we want to sleep, it's not a good sign. If food is supposed to be giving you one energy, of course we might get a little sleepy, we can rest for a little while, lie down on the left side to help the digestion. But if we fall asleep like a dead stone for a couple of hours, it's not a good sign. Therefore, eating is a science, and it's a art. Cooking is an art and a science. When I first joined the movement, we had no idea how to cook, but generally, as time progressed, and the devotees got some experience, and they learned from Prabhupada and from cooks in India, then they became an art, and the cooks were quite valued for the art of cooking. And we had these amazing feasts, and some of the devotees were amazing cooks, and they were valued just like nowadays. I don't know who we value in the movement anymore, but maybe the acharyas or something. But anyhow, they were quite valued, just like the kirtan leaders were valued, etc. And so the cooks were inspired to make really nice preparations. And the devotees were content. Some devotees stayed in the movement just for the Sunday feast. They tolerated the other 6 days and and then they became devotees on Sunday. Anyhow, I'll stop there. Any questions? Yes. Actually, we used to make these preparations that we don't see anymore, like malpura, and I forget these. Even glavinimas we don't see anymore.
On Sunday.
You have glavinimas on Sunday?
On Sunday will be.
Oh, this Sunday. Do you ever make malpura?
Here and there.
So,
Not every.
yeah, not so. Then samosas. Kachoris. What's that? Yeah, well, that it takes a lot of ghee, and oil is not so. It's not so good to cook in oil.
And also some influence of Ayurvedic.
Prabhupada said oil is for the external, and ghee is for the internal. Unless you probably would like to eat mustard seed oil. Hot. He said if you're going to eat something hot, if you're going to eat fried things, they have to be completely hot. Prabhupada would even take, when he was on the train, sometimes when they stop, I don't know how often, but sometimes, he'd take the kachoris that were fresh, were made in these kachori stands in the train station. But they were hot. And of course, the person who was making them, he's doing this for his whole life, 8 hours a day, so they're quite expert. You may think, well, people are, eating. Now, you go downtown, you eat some food, someone just set up some stand, you're the experiment. But these people are, what's that? They do. Are they cooked in ghee or in oil? Yeah. Oh, from the deities. Deities, or just, when do they have, the deities get that?
No, just in this main dining room, like for breakfast, I think.
Kachoris. What do they put in the kachoris? Potatoes? Mung dal kachoris. Usually kachoris are like, mung dal is not so common for kachoris. But maybe sometimes. Usually it's potatoes or cauliflower. But I guess in the stands in India, they probably don't use potatoes. They probably fill it with mung dal. Ur dal. Yeah.
Here is usually mung dal.
Mung dal. Oh, that's nice.
Right?
I don't know. I've never had a kachori here. Well, if it was cooked in ghee, it would be fresh. It would probably be a better chance. But do you cook in oil or do you cook in ghee here? You don't have to tell me about the other. What's that? Did you have a question?
Yeah. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, there is one chapter about Samprasadam that touched Krishna's lips in Antya Lila.
Krishna Pela.
So what's the difference between ordinary prasadam and this.
Everything is prasadam if it touches Krishna's lips. Krishna actually eats the prasadam. Krishna's lips are not, they're transcendental. They don't have to, like our lips, Krishna doesn't have to grab hold of it. Krishna can, when he eats the prasadam, his lips touch it.
But this was described like especially good and...
It is all especially good if we eat it in the right consciousness.
Yeah, okay. Because I was wondering also why it's described separately and different than
yeah, well, it's a description, because when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, first of all, when the devotees cooked and they offered it to Krishna, I guess he especially relished it. But if Krishna eats the food, then it's absolute. And if we eat it in the pure consciousness like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, then we'll be able to relish its actual subtle taste, spiritual taste. Beauty is in the eyes of the beholder. I remember one time I was hitchhiking. This is in 1970s, the end of 70, and they told me to hitchhike from Miami, Florida, specifically Coconut Grove, Florida, to Houston, Texas, to join with Vishnu Jan Maharaj. And on the way, I didn't have anything to eat. 3-day hitchhiking. But my temple president, my authority didn't want to spend any money on food. So the only thing I got to eat was a quarter of a pound of chickpeas, fried chickpeas, for 3 days. And the person who owned the health food store, we got the quarter of a pound of fried chickpeas from. He looked at me, I guess I was pretty skinny by that time. So he gave me 2 free date bowls, which I ate immediately because I was pretty hungry. Anyhow, on the way there, some hippies picked me up, and they had some bananas. So we offered the bananas, and then I gave them the bananas, and they commented that they never tasted such wonderful bananas before. Because they were offered. And I valued the bananas more than usual. Because I didn't even eat the quarter pound of chickpeas because I was so disgusted with them until I got to Houston 3 days later. But I ate a couple of bananas on the way down there. So they commented how wonderful these bananas tasted. And they were just ordinary bananas, but they were offered to Krishna, and people could experience it. Sometimes we take it for granted that because we get familiar with eating prasadam, we don't realize how special it actually is. Tell you, I remember when I first went to India, or a little bit later, I remember eating some devotees especially wanted to go down to an Indian restaurant. So I went with them, we ordered. After eating, I got so sick. I never went to a restaurant again after that, especially unless it was a Govinda's restaurant. I can't imagine how the greasy spoon, they call it. So we're very fortunate. We eat prasadam, but we should understand how fortunate we are. We should try to appreciate it. Anything else? Yes. Here's our prasadam expert.
A question about when Prabhupada mentions that food prepared 3 hours before.
Except for prasadam.
Okay.
That's what he said. Otherwise, we'd all be in trouble. Food left by saintly persons, remnants, they said, is in the mode of ignorance, but food left by saintly persons, or food which is cooked 3 hours in advance is considered to be in the mode of ignorance, unless it's prasadam. Remnants of food may be eaten only when they're part of a meal that was first offered to the Supreme Lord or first eaten by saintly persons, especially the spiritual master. Otherwise, the remnants of food are considered to be in the mode of darkness, and they increase infection or disease. Such foodstuffs, although very palatable to persons in the mode of darkness, are neither liked nor even touched by those in the mode of goodness. The best food is the remnants of which is offered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. What is it? Food in the mode of ignorance or darkness is essentially those which are not fresh. Any food cooked more than 3 hours before it is eaten, except prasadam, food offered to Krishna, to the Lord, is considered to be in the mode of darkness. So you get an exemption, spiritual exemption. Anything else? Happy cookies stay happy for a long time. Thank you. Khwala Grantaraj Bhagavad Gita Ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Gaur Premanande.